of you. So now we move on to the second session. In the earlier session, Professor Belk has talked about ethnography. We will also be talking about different observational methods in details in the remaining sessions. In this session, I will talk about observational methods. Since Professor Belk will be dealing in details of each of those methods, I will give you an overview of observational methods. This session will be divided into 3 parts. In the first part, I will try to give you an overview of observational methods. Then we will go for an exercise, and at the end, the third section, there I will be dealing with ethnography and culture. Since ethnography is fundamentally a study about culture, so I will also try to give you some insights on the aspect of culture in the context of marketing. So let us start with the first part. So that's an overview of the observational methods. So at the very onset, let us try to understand what we mean by observational methods. What are their purposes? Why observational methods are so important in the context of marketing research. So observational methods are techniques that involves systematically capturing and recording the behaviors and interactions of particular groups in a context. Let me break down this explanation of the concept of observational methods. The first thing that's important in this illustration is these are techniques that involve systematically capturing and recording. So the stress is on the term systematically. That means these techniques are well planned. They are methodical. They are well planned out procedures. What we study here, or what we try to know here, we try to know the behaviors and interactions of people in a group setup. Why behaviors and interactions? Because behaviors and interactions give us a greater insight about not only what people do, but why they do it. What's the motivation behind their actions or behavior? Whom do we study? We study particular groups. Groups can be, say, students in a classroom, employees in an organization, or maybe a particular community, a tribe. And all these capturing and recording of behaviors and interactions of groups takes place in a context. We need a context because that context is related to the purpose of our research study. That purpose or that context can be cultural context, it can be situational context, it can be social context. So that's what we understand when we talk about observational methods. Now, you may be having a question in your mind. We can collect data through interviews, we can collect data through surveys. Nowadays, we have a lot of tools through which we can collect data online. We can get a large number of responses through online methods. So why go for observational methods? Observational methods have a distinct advantage over the other methods of capturing data. For example, when we talk about surveys or interviews, there may be biases as far as the respondents are concerned. Biases on the part of the respondents when they provide you the responses. Many a times you may have seen, you have distributed a questionnaire to the participants, and then what you get is that some of the questions are skipped. You do not get responses, so there can be problems of incomplete data. But when we talk about observational methods, then it's about watching people's behavior in real time. And that is more authentic, more reliable, more valid when you think of data collecting. Yes.
So during the time of interview, the biasness of the respondents are really very concerned. But here, what about who is observing things?
Yeah, I'll come to that point at the end when we talk about the limitations, observer's biasness.
So when we are comparing both of these methods and one over
probably the chances of biasness is much more profound in the situations when you are collecting data through surveys or interviews. But when you are collecting the data through observation, then that degree of biasness that comes down, because many a times the behaviors, the actions of the people whom are watching, that is spontaneous, and many a times they are not aware that we are being observed. So they come up, you get a true reflections of their behaviors, their actions. Okay, so probably you'll get a better understanding of this when I'll be talking about the different observational methods. So before we go further into the different types of observational methods, let me just go back a little bit in the history to understand that these observational methods are not something new. They were there for a long period of time. So the first kind of observational or history related to observational research comes from this historian, Herodotus, who was there a long time back, sometimes around 484 to 425 BC, one of the earliest historians that the world has seen. And during his time, there was a big conflict between the Persian Empire and the Greek Empire. So he chronicled in details the factors, the reasons that led to that great war. And he also talked about in details, he described, came up with a very extensive description about how the war went on. That became a rich source of history for later historians. If we come back, or if we move forward to the 13th century, we have Marco Polo. I think I'm sure that all of you have heard about Marco Polo and may have read in history a little bit. So Marco Polo was a famous Venetian merchant and an explorer. And during the 13th century, he traveled along Asia. He spent almost around 24 to 25 years in Asia from 1271 to 1295. And he took the Silk Route. And during his travel along the Silk Route, he went through different countries. And he came across different people, different cultures, different practices, different customs, and he chronicled all those in a very detailed description. And at that time, not much of Asian culture or customs were known in the European continent, and he was one of the first few people who provided a plethora of information about the Asian culture during that point of time. So these observational methods, they exist for a long period of time, and in modern times, obviously, it has gone through a lot of transformation. With the advent of technology, a lot of things have changed, but it's there for a long time, and marketing researchers and companies, they use these observational methods a lot. They spend a lot of money in collecting data through observational methods that I will talk about a little while from now. Any questions? So let us just try to understand what are the key characteristics of observational methods. One unique or very important characteristics of observational methods is naturalistic settings. Can you tell me what we mean by this term naturalistic settings? Yeah.
We are observing people, let's say, in a scenario where they actually belong. So, if suppose I want to understand, observe students over here, so I am observing them the way they exist here, the way they interact with the things, their daily activities and etc. So it's more natural than I am taking them somewhere where making them sit and asking questions to them.
Okay. Yes, Toby.
Without intervention. I just want to use those two words.
Exactly. So when we talk about these natural settings, it means observing people in their natural environment without any intervention, without any manipulation. So you observe people doing things as they happen. So through observational methods, we are able to capture the spontaneity, the complexities of daily life that may not be easy to capture when you go for some other methods.
Professor, I have a question. Do you take the consent of your participant who
I'll
are...
talk about that. That is an ethical dilemma. I'll talk about it. Sometimes, when you talk in terms of companies, sometimes they take, sometimes they don't take. And many a times, actually, the customers, they may not know that they are being observed. I'll come to that part a little bit later.
In retail settings.
I'll talk about it. Just to give an example, I'll give examples which are very easy to relate. Something that we'll be able to relate with our daily lives. Say, for example, a furniture store. And the manager in the furniture store observes how customers move around the store, the amount of time that they spend in different sections, their interactions with each other, their interactions with the products. So this will give them a plethora of information about the product placements in the store layout, which section is attracting greater attention. And based on these information, they can take some strategic steps. Okay. The next one is cultural understanding. So, through observational methods, we are able to understand the cultural factors, the social factors that can be the reason behind the behaviors or actions exhibited by the subjects that we are studying. To give you an example, a clothing retailer, a fashion brand, it has its store in a big city, and the manager in that store observes that the customers, when they come in groups, and most of the times they come in groups with their families, friends, peers, or relatives, and they observe that in majority of the purchase decisions, the customer interacts with the other persons in the group and then decides which one to choose from or to go for which particular apparel. So this gives a lot of information to the management of that store, that the social interaction, it gives them an idea, the importance of social interaction, the importance of social influence in decisions related to fashion purchase. And they can use this information in their future ad campaigns, where they will try to focus on community validity. They will try to focus on social validity. That means the ad campaign will show that people are entering the store, they're interacting with each other, and they are taking the decisions about which one to purchase. So they can incorporate that information in their ad campaign. Okay. The last one is very interesting. When we talk about observational methods, we have or we can have either emic or etic perspective. Any familiarity with these words?
Insider and outsider.
Right. So when we talk about this emic approach, it's an insider's perspective. What we mean by insider's perspective? It means that in this case, we look at the beliefs, values, norms that exist in a culture from the perspective of the people who are a part of that culture or that society. So we try to understand the cultural reasons for a specific behavior or practice from the viewpoint of the people who engage in it. So that is your emic part. And obviously, as you can understand, the etic approach is an outsider's perspective. Who are these outsiders?
Stakeholders.
Who are these outsiders?
Stakeholders.
Huh?
Stakeholders.
Researcher are the.
So these outsiders are the outside observers or researchers. They study the community or the culture as an external member. And many a times these outside researchers or observers, they study different cultures and compare them, which will not be possible if you go for an emic approach. So it depends upon the purpose of your research study as to which approach you will go for. Okay? Fine.
You can still go for both. You start with emic and then you look at from etic perspective.
That can be done, but you know, when we talk about observational methods, it's about a very extended time period of study, and your resources may be a constraint. So here we are not talking about collecting data in a day or in a week's time or in months. Sometimes it runs into years. So there may be some resource constraints which may force you to go for one approach. Yes?
Sir, emic approach, emic approach means the participants, and the etic is the...
They are the members of the community that the researcher is studying. Say for example, consider me to be a faculty from outside this institute. I want to get some perspectives from the students of this institute. So I will take or I will capture the data, okay, from the students, rather than coming up with my own interpretation after observing the students. Okay.
Sir,
Now,
so when we compare and contrast the emic and the etic perspectives, are there biases in the emic perspective as compared to the etic ones?
see, I'll talk about these biases a little bit later as Dr. Raja asked me. So there are certain issues with these biases, especially in the context of the observers. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. When I will be talking about the limitations, okay, I'll talk about it. So I'll quickly go through the different types of observational methods. I'll not divulge into the details because Professor Belk is explaining them in a very nice manner. So he'll go into the details of each of these methods. So what I will try to do is to give you an overall idea, okay, with some examples from the domain of marketing. First is participant observation. So participant observation is what?
When researchers belongs to the same group they are observed.
No, it's not like they belong to the same group. It's not exactly like that.
I
We
mean,
treat us as a member of that particular culture or
Probably treat will not be the right term to use.
Be there, be part of them.
They get immersed over there.
Yeah?
They get immersed.
Right. So, when we talk about participant observation, here the researcher becomes a part of that community. The researcher engages in the daily activities of the community, goes through the rituals that that community have. So here the researcher becomes a part of the community or the group that the researcher is trying to study. Okay, so he will try to become one of them. A very good example here is related to Harley-Davidson riders. Now, this Harley-Davidson, this particular brand of automobile two-wheeler manufacturer, what do they stand for? What do they signify?
community.
Huh?
They signify themselves or they are known for their community.
No.
Harley-Davidson community.
No, that's not.
No,
But
heavy
what are
masculinity.
these brand stands
Brand
for?
talks about heavy masculinity. kind of-
Right. So it's talk about, yeah,
Casualness.
no, not casual.
Rather
It talks about rough, being rough and tough, machoism. That's what this brand stands for. And the owners of Harley-Davidson bike, they consider to be a different group, not in sync with the society to which they belong. They form their own group. They have their own subculture. Okay. Now, if you want, I'm sure you have seen in some of the movies, especially in the western part of the world, that these group of riders, they are riding together. Okay, so they move around together, and there are a lot of brotherhood, lot of strong bonding. Now, for example, as a researcher, you want to study about some aspect of these Harley-Davidson riders, then you have to be a part of that group to get an insights about their practices, their behaviors, their actions. Okay? So at first, you have to become a part of them. Then only you'll be able to get an in-depth information and knowledge about their lifestyle, their subculture.
So will it be a silent observer kind of thing, or they can participate and they can interact also?
No, they will become an active part of that community.
They can interact.
In order to collect the data, in order to know them, they have to be a part of that community. Like I told you, they will carry on with the everyday activities of that community. They will go through the rituals that particular community has. You have to become one of them. But it takes time to become one of them. It's easier said than done, because at first you have to build that trust. Okay, and that takes time, and that is also an issue. I'll talk about it a little bit later. Next one is non-participant observation. So as you can understand that here the researchers observes without direct involvement in the group. So in this case, the researchers do not become a part of that group. The researchers do not immerse themselves in that group. For example, nowadays in almost all retail stores, you will find they have CCTVs. So maybe the management of that retail store may be in another place and they're not directly interacting with the customers or becoming a part of them, moving around with them. Rather, they are trying to observe the customers through a mechanical device, that is CCTV. So whatever they see on that screen, based on that, they capture data. Now there are lots of interesting methods here. One is in-home observation. So you watch people as they go around doing their daily work at their home. But there is a catch here, and that is you have to take prior consent. So you can put cameras in the houses of people and observe them. So let me give you an example of how this particular technique can be used by marketers. For example, say a manufacturer of television, a company making television. So what they will do once the customer purchases the television, so they will take their consent that okay, we'll put a camera in your house, maybe in the drawing room where you have the television, and we will watch you. Consent has been taken. Now over a period of time, they will come to know about, say for example, what the family member, what features of the television the family members are talking about, what are the features that they don't like, and even in cases, the researchers from the company can visit the household and stay there for some time, okay, during the time when the family is watching the television. So this in-home observation will give them valuable data, like for example, which attributes or features of the television the family is liking, how long they are watching the television, what are the features that they are talking about that is missing in the current model or current version. So this will help them in their future product iterations. So they will try to incorporate those attributes of their features in their future versions of model. Next is observational interviews. So as you can understand from the name itself, that here two things go on simultaneously. One is the observation part and the other is the interview part. So you are not only observing your subjects, but you are also interacting with them, you are also asking questions to them, and when they are going through their actions or coming up with their behaviors. To give you an example in the context of marketing, a researcher might interview consumers in a grocery store while observing their shopping behavior. So they may ask questions that why you went for that product, that brand, why, what's your perspective about the price, how you came to the decision of purchasing this particular item. So they are observing their purchase behavior, and while they are observing their purchase behavior, they are simultaneously asking questions to know why they exhibited that behavior. Yeah.
And the first one, Professor, can you give another example?
For example, say I come up with a skincare product, right? So people, your company has sold it to the customers. So once the customers start using the product, I can get feedback through this in-home observation. So while they're using the product, how they're using it, how often they're using it, what are their views on it, these things can be observed. Okay, and from there you can get an understanding about the likings, dislikings, or any suggestions that the customer may have regarding that particular product. It can be related to fitness product, which is a very good example. Okay, So how they are using it, whether they are satisfied with it, how frequently they are using it, what is their usage patterns, what are their views. So you can get a lot of insights about the real experience of the customers once they have started to use your products.
So can Oriflame be that example because they give door-to-door services and
Door-to-door service is a different thing, but here what happens is that after taking your consent, maybe for 10-12 hours, the researcher from or the marketing people from that company will stay with you, or they may observe you through a camera, and in many cases they will come and stay with you for an extended period, and they will observe what you are doing, when you are using. They will try to get information, a lot of information about the product usage and your perception about the product.
do they incentivize for this?
Definitely, because whenever you are talking about research, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, in most part of the world, you have to provide some incentive to the respondents. Only then they will be a part of your study. And even there are a lot of marketing agencies who carry out these surveys for the companies, for faculties, and they provide some incentives to the customers to be a part of that study. Even they have different groups, they have databases. So you want 500 respondents, you just tell them that this is the profile of the respondents that I'm looking for. So they have their database. From there they'll pick up 500 people, make them a part of their study, and obviously some incentives will be provided to the respondents.
So, sir, the examples are of new products, right? Suppose some
For, yeah, you can do
service
it.
issues.
No, it can be done for existing ones also.
If any service issues with that product like AC or fridge or
See, service issue is different. I am saying
Is it
people
possible?
have purchased it, they are using it. Yes, you may have purchased an AC and you are staying in that room for the next, say, 2 months. You'll be interacting with them. So from there you will get
So
insight.
there is an issue with that AC. So AC mechanic and engineers are going to that home.
Yeah, that can also be a part of the customer's feedback or views. So their views not only on the physical attributes of the product, but also the after-sale service that is provided by the company. So both may play an important role as far as the brand loyalty is concerned. I'll purchase that AC where I'll get the services instantly without any delay. So that may make me loyal to that particular brand. So that can also come into play. It's a holistic experience. Okay, so that is something.
If that AC, the AC mechanic or the engineer is absorbing everything. So
No, that's not. The observation cannot be for that short span of time. No.
So is it possible?
No, that's because the duration is for a very short period. You can get some snippets, but you will not get an overview. Okay?
So yeah, here I want to share one of the observation, like related to the particular example you are talking about. So one of the cloud parenting company in India, I don't want to take the name, they have already clubbed up with another organization. They provide the nannies to the different households. The Bangalore-based company, they have taken.
So the nannies also work as a part of their observer.
Yes, so they have a particular subscription-based kind of consumer service policy. So they provide the free service for their client, and in the permission they already talk about that particular free service, and they try to gather the information about what are the things are being done by the kids and how the like in-home people or their nannies are like feeding
Yeah,
them
that can also
properly.
be done because that can give them some information about what the customers expect from the nannies in terms of service. So accordingly, they can design their service and enhance the quality.
And enhance the camera coverage as well. So two companies are working together and trying to come up with a better kind of camera view along with the service quality both. So
That can be done. That can be done. I mean,
but they're
there are
doing-
different ways by which you can implement it based on what you are looking for. Now the next one is very interesting. mystery shopper method. So have you heard about it? I'm sure.
Yeah.
I have done.
Oh, you have
You
done.
go to the store and with the camera, pen and kind of.
But the question is it ethical? Mr.
Yes.
Shopper, is
The
it
company
ethical?
hires actually.
Okay, fine. We'll come to that ethical
Is
part
it
later.
ethical?
But there are companies.
No, it's a terms condition.
No, it's fine.
You hire actually.
We'll talk about
No, you
it.
can hire, but is it ethical?
Okay, let's because we have a.
In India it is.
We have a time constraint, so definitely at the end we can discuss about it and also talk about, I will also touch upon the ethical issues a little bit later. So mystery shopper method is what happens, for example, say a retail store or a company which has its own store in the market, they can place their own researchers, observers who are well trained to visit the store as customers and move around the store, interact with other customers, check how the staff is behaving, whether they are friendly or helping or not, product availability, the neatness and cleanliness of the store, and then they will give that feedback to the management, and based on that the management may get an idea about the quality of service that they are providing, the availability of the products, the behavior of the staff, and that may help them to work on certain weaknesses which will enhance the image of the store. A retail chain might employ mystery shoppers to assess staff interactions, store cleanliness, and product availability. Okay? Because the people at the store, the employee at the store, may not always pass on correct information, the real information to the management. Next is shop alongs. What are these? This particular technique is about the researcher tagging on with the customers during their shopping trip. So obviously, as I told you, it's not just that easy to tag along with the customers. At first, you have to create a bond, you have to get that trust, you have to develop some kind of bonding with that group of customers, and then you tag along with them during their shopping trips and you observe what they are doing. You ask questions, why you are doing this, okay? For example, a researcher might join a family on a grocery shopping trip, and then the researcher may observe what role the kids are playing, what role the teenagers in the family are playing, what is the influence of in-store advertisement on the decision making, what's the impact of the salespeople on the decision making, okay, how the family is making the decision. So those things can be observed, and you can also put in your own questions to know more about why they are doing that. Next is videography, and this is a very common method, very popular method over the years due to economies of scale in the production or manufacturing of technology-related equipments. The cost of using these equipments, it has come down, and a lot of people, especially in the 80s and 90s and 70s, they have used this videography to capture data through observation. One major advantage of videography is that they allow capture of body language, facial expressions, and gestures. So that is, once you have the recordings and you are done with your field's work for the day, you go back to your office or to your home, you can have a look at the recording again and again. So that will give you a lot of insights on these aspects like body language, facial expression, what was the facial expression when, for example, the consumer was interacting with the salesperson, okay? So a lot of things, lot of details you can obtain through videography, and you can have a look at it again and again. Now there are a lot of variants of the use of these videography, and one important one is this video diary method. Any idea about it? Have you come across this particular method, video diary method?
It is like common, like in today's scenario, this is being conducted in a different way. That is called the dynamic video, or the cloud video analysis. What they do is they take the same people, it may be, or the multiple people coming to the restaurant, or it will be bank, it may be any of the office space. They are capturing the video of the same people in different point, as well as how they are behaving in a group, and it's a kind of, with the help of image processing or video processing, it can be filtered out and it can be observe the behavior of the individual person, context to the environment, climate, whatever it is. So now it's common, but video diary is becoming, like, in that way, more dynamic.
Okay, but the concept of video diary is little bit different. I'm sure you've heard about or you know about the technique of diary method. Okay, so this is just extending that. So here what happens, here the customers are given a video, okay, which they will carry at their home, and the customers on their own will record their experiences, their feelings, their perceptions. Why companies go for this video diary method? Because it is less intrusive. Rather than being watched by somebody else, or having a stranger coming to your house and interacting with you, staying with you for a long period of time, it's less intrusive. You have the camera with you and then you record it by yourself. Okay? So this is the video diary method. So this video diary method will document their experiences with the product over time, providing insights into usage patterns and also the emotional responses. So that is something that you can do nowadays without the use of video, because nowadays all of us, we have smartphones, and the same thing can be done with the aid of your smartphone, where you record your own thoughts, feelings and perceptions about the product that you are using. So I've given an example of a fitness brand.
Is there any way to select customers? Is it random, to whom the retailer knows or the company knows?
No, definitely it depends upon a certain profile that the company is targeting. Okay, so they have target customers, and from those target customers they can select some of the respondents, and they can give them this video and ask them to do it. So based from the target market, either they can give it to some random customers, or they may have identified 10-12 customers who have agreed to be a part of it, because that part is also important for the customers to agree, and then they may ask it. Most of the times it's very difficult to randomize, because at the end of the day, that agreement that is required on the part of the customers. Okay.
Is there anything like do those consumers like loyal to that brand, or they are the first time purchaser?
It depends on the purpose. So it may be your first time customers, it may be customers who have purchased it a couple of times, okay? It may be customers who are your target customers who are yet to purchase. You may give them a sample and take your feedback. So it depends upon what's your purpose. Based on that, you will choose the respondents.
So nowadays, companies send product to influencers, and they review that product.
So that's a different strategy, where they know that this influencer is very popular, and if that influencer endorses a product, then that message will get transferred to a lot of the online community, and in the online community, electronic word of mouth stays faster. So that's a different perspective than conducting the research. It's more about getting the endorsement from a very popular influencer, which will, at the end of the day, have a positive impact on the customers, the followers.
And that I understood, but the point is, they use that product for a very long time and they review it by saying that I have been using it for the past 2 months or 3 months or 15 days, and this is how my skin looks like, how do I look like.
So that may be it's the influencer's personal views. At times they may not be a part of the promotional campaign of the company. That's a different story. But here we are going to the customers and taking feedback. What you are talking about an influencer endorsing a product, and based on that endorsement, people are purchasing it.
But let's say they are not endorsing it,
Whatever, whenever, if you are a big time social media influencer, kind of macro influencer, then what you write, that resonates in the community. People believe that.
So the simple question is, can a company hire influencers?
Yeah, there are, influencers they hire. Influencers,
But it all depends on the company.
influencer is hired. Definitely. Many companies they hire influencers. They are paid actually by the company to talk positively about your product, about your
It's
brand.
up to the company whether they consider them as
Again, I'm telling you, when we talk about the influencer, it's more about promotion. When we talk about customers, it's more about getting data from what the customer is experiencing, data related to that, more related to doing a marketing research, marketing study, rather than promoting the brand.
So, yeah. So you have been talking about the video diary, like there are some of the fitness app companies like, Healthify Me. They talk about like, after doing this exercise, you send me the video, or once you are like, doing some of the like exercise, take the photographs and take the videos, send it to us. And that is actually the company, they are getting this kind of observation, this kind of overall like data from the customer. But whenever we talk about the researchers,
Yes. I think it will be better if we interact once the session is over. Probably the interaction will be more smooth rather than having it in between the lectures. So maybe I can take up your questions at the end.
so that my question is that
Just a
how
moment.
to align the corporate research with the academic research, so that the way or lens can be broader.
So actually, see, when academicians are doing research, the purpose is a little bit different, the resources are different, and when you are thinking of corporates, they are doing this market survey or market study, the purpose and resources are a little bit different, because that will be done on a very large scale. Okay, for example, if you want to collect data through observation as an individual, it will take you a long period of time, whereas a company, they can hire multiple trained observers and can get that same number of respondents or samples in a shorter span of time. Okay. So until and unless you are collaborating with the company, maybe based on certain agreement, the perspectives are a little bit different. Now the next one is very, very interesting. It's unusual, but you'll be surprised to know that this is also what we do in marketing research. Garbology. What is this? Garbology.
ITC and so many other companies, we know that for the filter cigarette, the ribbon is there. So there are some of the companies, there are some of the NGOs, they are not the company, they are collecting the butts of the cigarette around Delhi or in Calcutta. They are finding the consumption of that particular brand and how that is actually, there is one of the case study, like classic cigarette, it was actually market research data talked about, yes, it's a most like favorite brand of the consumer, but in reality it was being so like observed the flake, the cigarette flake was actually identified as the most like prominent product having a larger throughput. So that was come from the garbology. Another very important
No, I
study.
mean, can you just tell me, we're talking about examples, but what it is, what this
Yes,
technique is
it's
all
a
about?
data from garbage. They from a garbage, it may be the dustbin, it may be the dumping ground.
Right,
They collect
right.
the sample and they also follow sometimes like
Okay, I understand. Yeah, Mr. Banerjee.
Is the study of garbage of a community.
Right. So you'll be astonished to know what this is, what this technique is all about. This is very unconventional. It's unobtrusive. That means not interfering, but at the very same time, it is done and also very effective. I'll give you an example of a real-life company which has actually done it in the past, and there are many companies which are doing it in today's time also. So here what happens, the researchers, they scan through the garbages of the household in a community. For example, to check, just to give a very simple example, people's consumption about organic foods and conventional ones. So I can pick up the packages from the garbages and I can get an analysis or understand about the consumption pattern of that particular community.
so it is consumption frequency, not the pattern.
No, it's not, the frequency is a part of it which Campbell should teach, but it's also about, if we get, for example, snacks, an organic snack, for example, and you
Mostly
see
the
a
frequency.
lot of packages. So probably you can understand from there not only the frequency, but probably the brand which is being consumed. So maybe people are consuming this brand, maybe people are consuming the organic brands more than the conventional ones. When it's company specific, then the frequency will come into play. But as a researcher, if you want to study the market, the consumption pattern of a particular product in a community, that may involve the pattern which brand is consumed more. So to give you an example, Campbell's soup. So what Campbell did in the 1970s, they hired researchers to go through the garbages of different communities in the town, and they found that a lot of families are purchasing their soup, but the frequency with which it is consumed, that is not as expected. So people are purchasing it, storing it for a long time, not using frequently. So that gave them an idea that we have to do something, we have to come up with a strategy, okay, which will increase the frequency of consumption, because greater the frequency, that will have an impact on the cells. Now we are actually going pretty late, so probably I have to skip a few things. It will be there in the slides, okay, that I'll share with you, but I want to go to the exercise part, so I'll just quickly go through these points. When we talk about observation, most of the time we think about capturing data in real time. But through observation, we can also get an idea of what happened in the past. What was the consumption pattern? What was the taste and preferences of people in the past? Okay? And for that, we have artifacts, television archives, documentary films. So, this person, Pfeiffer, he went to the Cro-Magnon caves of the Pyrenees. Pyrenees is a hill that is staggered along the borders of France and Spain. And the caves in those mountains, they dated back to 10,000 to 30,000 years. And there he found some artworks and analyzed those artworks and got an understanding about some ancient religious rituals and practices. How you can relate this in the context of marketing? As a company, you can have a look at the packaging and ads of your company and other companies over the years. So that will give you an insights about the lifestyles, okay, about the consumers' taste and preferences over the years, and you can incorporate that information in your ad campaign, which not only resonates with the current customers but also has a touch of the past, a touch of the history. Next is television archives, commercials, the advertisements. So maybe if you have gone through the ads of 50s and 60s of household products, their women were portrayed as somebody who stays back at the house and look after the kids and the family. But over the years, the societal norms have changed. That has moved on to a different perspective. Now it's about gender equality. So by going through these archives, you will get an understanding how the society changed over the years. And probably if you look at some ads of, say, a cleaning product, nowadays they not only will show that the women taking care of the cleaning, but it's also the men who are also responsible for the cleaning activities at the home. So it's about gender equality, something which will resonate with the modern society. And then you have some documentary films. For example, it can be related to how the fashion of apparels that have changed over the years. Now this is what I would like to talk about. So I'll show you a video here. So you just observe it and then we move on to the exercise part. Yeah, you see.
This is not hyperlink. Sir, please do copy the link and paste it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I can help you triple your reading speed and read.
So after this we'll move on to the exercise part. Before that I just want to show you a video. Okay, don't search for it now, otherwise the thing will not remain interesting any further. Okay, so don't search for it.
Presenting the dazzling you desire, the best and beyond.
Here comes the gorilla, the monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
So you tell me how many times the ball was passed? So probably some of you have started it and you have got the answer. But did you observe something else? Yeah, gorilla came. Tried to distract.
But the girls who were playing with the ball, they were not distracted.
They were focused.
Okay. Any other observation?
They were, in some of the instances, they were tapping the ball on the ground.
Any other inputs.
Balls were not passed in a random fashion.
No, it was between the girls wearing that white t-shirt. They will be passing the balls to each other.
And we didn't know what are the things we should observe, and that is the reason we could not document it. What
No,
are the
that's-
things should be
that is-
that is actually the thing is, once we are going for a kind of observation, we should know what are the things we should capture, and that is the
That is the problem. That is the problem that you should. What will be your focus? That is the problem. That is what I am talking about here. The focus is the problem. So something else happened, okay, which probably none of you observed because you are more focused on counting the number of times the ball was thrown among the girls wearing the white t-shirt. Probably if you have observed it closely, you would have noticed what happened, what changes took place, and it happened in front of your eyes. It was not any kind of magic. So here it comes.
The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and
So what happened during this video? Two things happened along with the coming of the gorilla. One player left the arena, none of you observed, and the color of the curtains in the background, that changed. So just rewind.
watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events.
So that's what the essence of this video, that we get too focused with our objectives that we may end up missing something important which can be a very valuable inputs to our study. Okay, so having too much focus on a particular issue can have or can throw up something which you may miss, and that could have been an important part of your study. Now the next one is an exercise that I will show you a YouTube video. It's about 4 minutes. So I'll ask you to observe it very minutely, and please keep your mobile phones away from you for the time being, because you're not getting answers related to that in your phones. Okay? So that is done. So we are done with the monkey business. So limitations, okay, I'll come to it a little bit later. Shall I talk about it, or I'll straight away go to the exercise? I think the exercise is a little bit better. Okay? Because these things, I'll talk briefly at the end if time permits. You'll probably be able to understand, but the exercise is interesting. It's related to what we have talked about. So this is the exercise that we are going to do, and this is again from YouTube. I have mentioned the source. So now let me take you to that exercise. So watch closely. Now it is downloaded. Okay, so we're done with the video. So, if I ask you, what did you observe? Mr. Pandey, what did you observe?
So nobody gave the beggar anything.
Okay. Anything else? Because there's a lot of things that are happening on the street. So,
General intersection.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw two different scenarios. One was a beggar, and the other one, I felt like they were asking for some donation or something. People were nice about denying a donation, but people felt that the beggar did not even exist when he was existing. He behaved that way. I felt all these.
Okay. I'll come to your observation.
Yeah.
I'll come to any observation from your side.
So it's generally old video, most probably 90s of America or Canadian video.
No, not 90, it's about 10 years
Maybe,
back.
so it's just showing a street,
10, 15 years back.
general street with some lots of people doing their day-to-day activities, some of going to market, talking with their friends.
Multiple footage and activity.
Multiple footage are
Whatever it is, but actually that is a part of an intersection, road intersection, probably two sides. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So it's a Canada, like the particular, if I'm not wrong, it's a Canadian thing.
No,
And
how?
yeah,
The
there was a
question
flag.
was
Yeah, there was
how?
a Canadian flag. I find.
Canadian flag.
Yeah. So the particular country, I don't know whether it is actually Canadian Canada or not. Let me finish. Let me finish. No.
But no, actually, we didn't have any pictures of flag.
There was a flag, and the country is severely suffering with the kids and like below age population. The population is at a higher side. Whatever we have seen, it's starting from like 20 and above, mostly the old people, and it seems it's basically the observation which is also having a subjectivity. So if I take that, it is a lazy, it's a kind of a lazy day, and the people are having that sort of
It's not a lazy day because generally on the streets people are walking, they are busy.
but it is also the laziness. In Calcutta, if we are going to shoot the same thing, you will find there is a hell of a difference.
The population is an issue.
Yeah. So population is less. On the other side, the people are not so much interactive. They don't want to, like in that way, react to the people who are asking some questions.
Okay.
So what I observed is there was a crossroad, camera was setting in the two sides of the road. We observed from the different two angles. I found there are similarity of the four people who perhaps doing some kind of methodological work there at.
How you came to that conclusion?
That is one pure something written in their jacket, and they were asking something to the people. They were entering into the
So she talked about donation. You are talking about conducting some
kind of question, yeah, some kind of specific set of interaction, which is counted there. And there may be another two people in the first page who were in the red or something cross jacket. Maybe they are volunteers, maybe something, but they formed a group which are specific. We are not concerned what they are doing there, but selective work.
Okay.
Some sort of disaster management sort of work, because they were wearing orange jackets.
More people are handicapped, I think.
So,
Yeah.
food patterns, both of the video, both of the footage, the entire video is two segments. The first segment is a hot summer day. Both of the video has hot summer day, shot in a hot summer day. In the first part of the video, the homeless man and the lady smoking are the two constant personalities at the intersection. And at the second footage, the two person with writing board, they are doing some kind of study, I don't know what. But these two people are only the constant person present at that intersection on the side of the road. The other people or the vehicles are passing. This is my observation from the interview.
Now the actually also from one that is the food pattern. One lady was drinking Coke, that is the fast food pattern. Another thing that is there was a clinic wherein improvement clinic or like that. So it shows the health system there. And in terms of another audio clip that I heard was there is a loss in terms of stock. So there was another, that is the uncertainty about the you can say the financial part.
Yeah.
So many points have been stated, but one thing which I would like to add is basically this is a developed nation. Yeah, not a developing or a very.
Okay, so this is your observation. What?
It's a developed
Last
nation.
thing I want to add, there is a very few person who are actually travel by using two-wheeler. We have found only one two-wheeler, but
So that's the pretty norm in the in the country, the Northern America. Okay, North America is pretty much evident there.
So
Usually they are working on
there is a very less market for two-wheeler.
So this is your observation, you have observed, taken feedback. Now let me ask you some specific questions related to the video. So where was this? So this is a clipping from a street in Montreal, in Canada, and how you can get an idea, because if you during the early stages of the video, if you observe very closely, there are two old persons who were on the road wearing red jackets, Canada written on them. So I thank Russ.
The Canadian flag was there.
I thank Russ, Professor Belk, for sharing this video with me. Did you saw any kid?
Only one.
So what was the color of the hat that the kid was wearing?
The perambulator was.
What was the color of the hat that the kid was wearing? The color was red, and that came up pretty early in the video. Okay.
Coca-Cola.
Did you saw any ads?
There was another, insurance agency or something. There was, you could not see the entire look at it.
Also there is
So
healthcare.
there was an ad, okay, featuring a hearing health clinic, which have multiple clinics across the state of Ontario, okay, and the name of that brand is Listen Up Canada. So that was there on the street, just a little bit ahead of where the data was, or the person asking for arms was sitting. What are the most common vehicle color? Because you saw a lot of vehicles passing by.
Gray or black?
Yeah, it was more into a kind of grayish, okay, rather than being black.
The dresses, most very casuals.
Did you saw anybody doing some kind of data collection? And that is correct. The two guys wearing those blue t-shirts, they were actually working for an agency to collect data from people who are there on the street. So they have a few questions, and you saw that one of them was actually interviewing or collecting the data from a lady wearing that green jacket or green vest. So he was interacting, and the other one was trying to stop the passersby and trying to make them a part of this of their study. Okay. So this is about the exercise. So observation, when we talk about observational methods, it's not a very casual approach. You have to pay a lot of attention to each and everything that is happening, that is unfolding in front of your eyes. It's not just about what you are seeing, it's also about what you are hearing, what smell you are getting, your feelings. All these come into the observational methods. Okay? So since we are almost, the time is up, so I'll end the discussion here, and in my next lecture session, I'll try to talk about the remaining part, that is ethnography and culture. Okay.